Hello, I'm Graham Jones and welcome to Channel KT4 broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube. You can join in by sending in questions during the show. Just press the comments button on the screen. Don't forget to click the like or share buttons if you're watching on YouTube. Please click to subscribe to Channel KT4. It's free. I'm so pleased to welcome to my virtual studio Phil Neale from the volunteer group Friends of Shadbolt Park. Hello, Phil, and thank you for joining me on Channel KT4, where we'll be chatting about the incredible work that your volunteers do in maintaining Shadbolt Park for everyone to enjoy. But first, have a little look at this video. Hello, and welcome to this wonderful oasis of Shadbolt Park, and this happens to be the Lily Garden. Now, throughout the month of July, the Lily Garden is open every Saturday and Sunday between 2 and 4, so please feel free to come and just enjoy these wonderful vivacious colours that are here in this wonderful Lily Garden. But there's even more, because the Lily Garden is in Shadbolt Park. I'm going to be talking to Phil Neale today about the work of the Friends of Shadbolt Park. But before we do that, have a look at a little video that I've put together. Enjoy. Hello, Phil, and welcome to Channel KT4. Great to see you again. This is the second time you've been on the show, so we're really excited to see you. How are you keeping, Phil?
Hello, everybody. I'm not sure whether you can hear me. I'm losing sound at the moment, Graham.
Okay, I can hear you crystal clear, Phil.
That's better. I can hear you now. Fine. Good afternoon, everybody.
Oh, good afternoon, Phil. Hope you managed to see the pictures that we did during the video, and we saw the lovely lilies in the day lily garden. Let's talk about the lily garden in a moment. However, Phil, could you just give me a little bit of history of this wonderful park, Shadbolt Park itself, Phil?
Yes, sure. Shadbolt. There was a gentleman called Ernest Shadwell, who's a retired railway engineer who spent most of his career in India. In fact, ended up as the chief engineer for the Indian government for the railway. And in 1906, he retired back to England. And in 1920, he bought a patch of land called Darkfield from the Rosebery estate. And this patch of land is now the park that we have today. He built this house, which is now, and he got his friends from Kew Gardens, who he obviously had contacts from his time in India, to lay out his garden as an arboretum, and he had trees from all over the world planted, and we still benefit and have got a magnificent variety of trees from all over the world, from America, Asia, Africa. It really is outstanding for a small park in the middle of Cuddington Ward. He sadly died in 1938, and he bequeathed that his house and gardens be sold to Epsom and Ewell Borough Council, which they bought in 1937 for the vast amount of £3,500, which in 1937 was not an inconsiderate amount of money, but it was still half the value of what it should have been. And then the council very shrewdly took up the offer and made it into the park, and the house became the park supervisor's house. And from that house, luckily, he had a great enthusiasm for daylilies and set up the daylily garden. And it was so successful that it gained national status for a national collection. And there are over 300 varieties of daylily, which were looked after and propagated and researched from 1940 through to 1990, held that status. Sadly, after 1990, we didn't have the resources to maintain that status. And we've now got the garden as it is today, where we still have a wonderful collection of daylilies.
Okay, Phil, we're going to talk about the daylily garden in a short while, but before that, can we just talk about, I'm interested in the Friends of Shadbolt Park. Who are they and what do they do?
Well, we're a varied bunch of people, all very enthusiastic. Excuse me, I should have turned that off before. But there you go. Yes, we're a varied bunch of people. There's 18 of us at the moment, aged from, I would say, late 30s to mid 70s, shall I say. Here we are, there's a good group of us all smiling with the mayor, Peter O'Donovan, and his lovely wife Sarah, who came to visit us on the opening day of our, when we opened the daylily gardens to the public. There's 18, as I say, of us, and we not all of us turn up, but every Saturday between 10 and 12 o'clock, we come and meet, and I dole out the various jobs, or most of the people there know more about the park than I do, and they just get on with the work they know. We've got a little group of 3 who specialise in looking after wild lily, the wildlife pond, where the toads and the frogs and the butterflies and the water lilies are. Then we've got a big group that look after the daylily garden, and then people like me who are general labouring around the park, litter picking, keeping the verges clean and tidy.
Okay, that's good. So let's just have a little chat then about the daylily garden. As you saw from the video, I went there last weekend and really enjoyed it. And so the daylily garden, if you want to expand a little bit, I'll put the first picture up for you, Phil.
Yes, well, that you can see that we've got in full bloom at the moment. In July is really the time to come and see it, and that's why we unlock the gates to the daylily garden, because we protect them the rest of the year. But for the 4 weeks of July, we open Saturday and Sunday, and you can see all the blooms. Some will change week by week now. They'll change. Some are coming through, some are dying off. But if you can, every weekend, you'll see a different colour selection and varieties of the daylilies. The official name is Hemeracalis, and I must say I don't pretend to be any type of horticulturalist, but we do have a couple of the ladies, Doreen Bennett, who really looked after that garden for the last 30 years, and she's educated me and for all the varieties and what's happening in the park. We have named and we have labels on most of them, but there are a few unknown ones, which we, if anyone can recognise them, we're very happy to put a label against it. But there you can see them in all their beauty.
Yeah, it's lovely. And you mentioned that in July, this particular month, the garden is open and people can go through. Now, if I'm right, Phil, it's between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock each and every Saturday and Sunday in July. So for folks who are watching, you've got another 2 weekends where you can go and enjoy the daylily garden. Am I right in that, Phil?
Yes, we open on the 3rd and 4th, Saturday and Sunday, and the last weekend will be the 24th and 25th. And the only reason we close it is because the daylilies really are just there for the month. After that, all the petals fall off and they go back into a reproduction mode, if you like, for the rest of the year. So that's why they're called daylilies.
You've answered a question there, Phil, because I didn't know why they were called daylilies. Thank you very much for clarifying that for me. Now, with the Friends of Shadbolt Park, I mean, you can see, I could see all the work that's been going on, not only in the daylily garden, but generally in the park, the pond in particular as well. Now, there's got to be equipment and various things, and that's going to cost money. So how does all of this work? Do you can people donate to support the daily garden or the volunteer work of the Friends of Shadbolt Park?
Yes, of course they can. In fact, a couple of our visitors who came to the daylily garden last weekend did say, "Oh, is there a charge for coming to round the garden?" We said, "No, we don't charge. It's totally free. All the equipment that we have a little wooden shed in the daylily garden where, and to be honest, it was there when I started, and I'm not sure whether it was just donated by enthusiasts or volunteers, but we do have a small fund which we keep. The Residents Association looks after for us, and if anyone would like to contribute, we're very happy to accept it, and that would come. You'd go to the Cuddington Residents Association and just say that I'd like to make a small donation to the Friends of Shadbolt Park, and there is a little. The treasurer keeps a little stash in the corner for us, and that does help buy things like labels. Last year we went round the main park putting up plastic labels on most of the exotic trees so people can enjoy and understand a little bit more. And we spent a little bit of money there, which came out of that fund.
Yeah, I noticed that. One of the things that I did comment to myself upon when I went to see the lovely lily garden, and you mentioned it. Some people did ask, is there money? Do I need to pay to enter this the day lily garden? And of course, the answer is no. It's free. But it reminded me of a couple of weeks ago. I went to a free concert in a school playing field, and it was ticketed because it had to be because of COVID. But it was a free event. So what the organisers did, the charity that ran the concert, they had retiring buckets. So people were putting in quite a bit of money to support the work that particular charity was doing. And I was just thinking maybe that's something to consider for to support the wonderful work of the Friends of Shadbolt Park during this month when you've got the wonderful lily garden open to the public.
It's not a bad idea. To admit they've never done it before, but I must say pre-COVID, they offered refreshments and cakes and biscuits, and there was a pot on the table then for people to donate, but I wasn't involved at that stage. But during the COVID regulations, we've not been able to hand out refreshments or food, and even we had brochures which people could pick up and take, which we've had to hold back on this year, and that may be where we've lost out. But perhaps putting a bucket by the entrance or exit may be a way of people who want to offer some assistance would be a way to do it. So thanks for that. I'll put that down for next week.
Okay. No, I mean, I have a particular thing about fundraising, and because back in the day, I actually used to do a lot of actual on the street fundraising. So I kind of got to know the rules, and actually if somebody's standing there and saying, "Excuse me, can you put some money in?" and they're shaking the tin, that's completely illegal. You're not allowed to do any of that. So to me, the best way always, particularly at the Lily Garden, is to just have a table with a bucket that's got a nice little label on it and just leave it there. You don't need to have anybody actually there to persuade people. It's just a complete voluntary thing. People can see it. Please donate, and people will put some money in, and it will just go towards the wonderful work that you and the team are doing. Yeah, I think that would be a great idea. I also like the thought. Of course, this is the first year that I've actually been to the Lily Garden, so I wasn't aware about having the opportunity to have cakes and and drinks and various things like that. I think that's a lovely idea. I hope you were charging for it.
Well, that was before my time. I sort of took over responsibility in 2019, and then 2020 is when COVID took over. So, but when hopefully, God willing, next year things are back to normal, we'll re-establish the light refreshments. But thanks for the idea. It's a good one.
Okay. I know it's been difficult for everyone during the pandemic, and we've just been talking about some of that, but the Friends of Shadbolt Park have continued to do an amazing job throughout. So obviously you're coping with the restrictions that you've had. Hopefully, we've just had the announcements that those restrictions are going to change. But do you have any plans? What are the future plans for the work of the Friends of Shadbolt Park?
Well, we've got various things in the pipeline. In fact, we were talking, hopefully in September, there's a lovely lady called Alison who's a bat expert, and she's been in the park before, round about sunset, and held talks and doing surveys. She's got this special equipment where we can listen and hear the bats. And so around about September time, we'll be holding another one of those talks, which is open to all to come along and see the wonderful world of bats in Shadbolt. That's the first thing. We have been busy all through COVID. We've turned up on the Saturdays, obviously masked up and socially distanced, and worked quietly in our little bubbles in the various areas of the park. And one of the things we pushed on is wild flowering. And if anyone was to take a stroll around the back of the GP surgery, you'll see a wonderful little patch that one of our volunteers, Sue, has taken under her wing. And the last couple of weeks, it's absolutely burst full of colourful wild flowers, and we're hoping that throughout the park. We have also put in a bid with the council to have what's called a Swift Tower. We noticed that there is during the seasons have been flying through the park, and there's this wonderful artist in West Sussex who's built and designed this Swift Tower, which is it's a work of art in itself. It's not cheap, but there is this fund available which we can bid for, and which we put a bid in, and hopefully, if we are successful, we'll have this piece of architecture on lawns for the swifts to nest. And we're also hoping to put bees in the daylily garden at the end of next year. Again, that'll be a great addition to the park, and will hopefully provide extra propagation for all the flowers, not only in the park but in the neighbouring gardens. That's plenty going on.
I think it's amazing, Phil, what's going on. I'm particularly fascinated with the bees. To have beehives in the lily garden, I think that's going to be tremendous. I take it that when you go into the garden, you've got the shed on the left, that kind of like space to the right of the shed, probably. Is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah, they'll be tucked away behind the shed so that they're out of general movement of the public. But as you know, the daylily garden isn't open during the week normally to the public, so that's really the reason we would site the beehives in the daylily garden, so that the bees and the public don't disturb each other really. But hopefully we'll get some honey, and we'll be able to sell the honey.
Yeah.
Daylily honey. But that's a couple of years down the line. It'll be of interest for people to come and see.
Yeah, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great to also at some point find within the daylily garden, if there was space somewhere, to have a kind of like a vegetable area, so you could make produce from that. So kind of like tomatoes, and have tomato relish and Shadbolt Park tomato relish and things like that. We've got a proper little business going here, a bit of industry. I like it.
We do work hand in hand with Epsom and Your Borough Council. As you know, I'm a borough councillor as well, so I have to put my hat on here. We don't do all the work. The rangers and the operational services do an awful lot of work, but the work they do, it's like the unglamorous work, the litter picking, and the mowing and all the sort of general maintenance work. And they do work very hard. And we do meet regularly to discuss where we think that they could either perhaps cut back on the mowing where we want the wildflowering to go, or perhaps where we need a little bit of assistance with the bramble clearing, where they've got the larger industrial equipment to do that. And I'm talking to them regularly for that. So hats off to the borough as well.
I know it was very interesting. Again, last Saturday when I enjoyed being at the Daylily Garden, and I was there whilst some of the Friends of Shadbolt Park were doing their duties, and they were some people were down at the pond, some people were tending some of the borders and various bits and everything. What struck me though was one, how industrious everybody is, and they were all really getting on and doing their work. But also they were so chatty and so happy and just really enjoying it. I think it's just a marvelous kind of volunteer group that you've got there at Shadbolt Park, Phil.
Yeah, you're quite right, Graham. Everybody knows each other now, and even people who come along as newbies, that everyone's so welcome. You don't have to sign up or be qualified to know. Like me, I know nothing about gardening whatsoever, but everyone's got a skill, whether it's just physical work. I can push a wheelbarrow around the park and sweep up and things like that. And of course, the people who use the park. And as you know, in the last year and a half, people just crave to get out and walk about. And it's been so good to see the park being used and appreciated. Everyone who's due to come around has thanked us for the work that we've been doing. And that in itself is a great boost for us.
That's really good. Look, Phil, many thanks for joining me in my little virtual studio here at Channel KT4. It's been amazing to chat to you about the Daylily Garden at Shadbolt Park and about the park itself. And of course, the wonderful work of the Friends of Shadbolt Park. For the next 2 weekends, everybody remember the Daylily Garden is open to the public and it's free. So pop along and enjoy between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Councillor Phil Neale. Thank you very much, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Now, Phil, you just stay there a moment and I'll be back with you when we're off air, okay? Every week, I give a little shout out to the wonderful advisors who support the Cuddingtonian. Today, it's the turn of Jason and Debbie at BTF Unisex Hairdressing based on Vale Road. Many thanks, guys, for all your continued support of the Cuddingtonian. It really is very important that you do that wonderful support for us. Thank you very much indeed. This is Graham Jones. Join me next week when my guest will be Joe Bookbinder, the media officer of Epsom and Newell's Samaritans. Really looking forward to talking to Joe. Until then, have a wonderful week and bye now.